and Carter Show is a paid programming and
Those are for Cloud. In case we get a call, because I have a feeling we might.
Let's give me something fair. They're both ready looking. Who's you gonna call?
I don't know. Nobody.
What's the weather?
Coming up on today's show, Congressman Michael Cloud joins us in studio. Astros drop another one. College football season kicking off. All that and more coming up on today's Wade and Carter Show.
The Astros dropped another one?
Yeah, 1-0.
I thought it was yesterday. They lost twice in a row, 1-0.
77-93, much like yesterday. Hey, good morning.
Good morning to you, brother. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
Good. Excited to have the congressman in the office today. He's been busy. He'll have stories to tell, and it's time. We haven't had him in what, 6 weeks?
Yeah, probably about a month or so. Maybe the Astros didn't drop another one. They didn't play.
That's
yesterday.
what I was thinking. You're just ringing them up as
I
losers.
saw an old headline, I guess. So
Yeah, it was on Wednesday that they lost a day game 1-0. They're probably back home this weekend.
they are in San Diego to take on the Padres beginning today. So,
Padres, that's great baseball. Padres still doing well.
71-63, not
Thought
too bad.
so. Not bad. Playoff bound.
Not quite 78-55 like the Stros, but which means they'll win 3 games because they lost.
Well, I'm not sure people understand. These are the Astros' glory years of your lifetime. This is like the run that not quite as dominant, but the run that the Atlanta Braves had back in the 90s, where they just kept winning over and over and over.
Except for the big one.
Yeah. They were like.
And right now, the Astros are kind of like the Braves. They've won 1 World Series in this run of dominance.
Minnesota Twins. I mean, like the Minnesota Vikings is kind of what the Braves were like.
Or the Giants.
Yeah.
New York Giants get to the Super Bowl, or no, Buffalo Bills get to the Super Bowl for 4 years in a row and can't win it. Let's do this.
Wade and Carter weather brought to you by the Deer friends at Deerland Feed, where now deer corn is available for you. That's 3 different spellings of the word deer in one sentence. You try it. You try that at home at 7 o'clock in the morning, off the top of your head, unscripted. You have to be somewhat dyslexic and
sharp
ADD to do what I just did. 77 degrees in Victoria, heading to a high today of 93. It's a
slight chance of rain, I think.
Ever so slight. Coming in ever so slight on a Friday.
Yeah, they say around 40%. I think most of that's going to be earlier in the daytime, midday-ish.
I never know what that means. So you got a city this size.
Yeah.
Does that mean that there's a 40% chance that some precipitation falls somewhere in this city? Or does that mean that 40% of the city could get some precipitation?
No, it's bigger than the city, I think. I believe there's a chance that rain could fall in 40% of the county. It's something how it was explained to me, or the city, or whatever.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Now, what? Somebody will chime in, folks. We really don't care. We don't care. Don't waste your keystrokes on that. There are times we really want your input on things because we do care, but in this case, we're just filling time until the congressman gets here. You know he's listening right now.
Oh yeah,
Good morning, Michael.
He's on his way in.
Is now when we should do some gratuitous chatting up of what a great job he's doing, so that when he gets here, he's in a good mood?
Sure.
I think he is doing a great job. I think he's become more and more outspoken. Right? Don't you? Not that he was ever timid, but I think he was smart. He went up there, felt his way around, kind of figured out where the donuts were, where the barbershop was.
Found out where the Dr. Pepper wasn't.
Got him some gear from down at the gift shop. Remember, he had that deal that said like United States Congress on it. I was like, really? It's like it's his own.
We thought
brand.
they gave it to him. He's like, no, I bought it.
Yeah, he bought it. There's like only 500 people that have that gear. It's like a brand, a very private brand. Is it? Your hat's on crooked?
Might be.
Wade Carter gear, if you look at these two swag caps, these are free. I can get you one. And the Wade Carter banner, which you cannot have, although we might auction it off. The Wade Carter banner, all products of Compadres Design. Compadres just does superlative work. And look at that. Your hair looks the same under a cap as it does when you comb it.
Yeah, imagine that.
Fantastic product at Compadres Design Inc. And now in their new location where they're just huge up there on Main Street.
So
where do you want to start?
Well,
that's what you usually do.
The Boise State Central Florida game last night kicked off late. It was supposed to start at 6, didn't kick off till like 2 hours later because of weather delays in Orlando. But Boise got up early, up 21 points. Gus Malzahn, the new head coach at Central Florida, rallied the troops. They win at 36-31. Exciting football game.
Who won?
Central Florida.
Now, are they the ones that's UCF? They're the ones that are kind of
UCF, yeah.
Now, is that where Charlie Strong went for a while and then they booted him?
I thought he was South USF.
Okay, so Central Florida has become kind of a player. Kind of important.
They're the ones. They're the ones. Who was their coach? The guy that ended up in Nebraska, I think.
Scott Frost.
Yes.
So what's going to happen?
Wasn't he the one complaining the year they went undefeated and they ended up number 6? And I think it was back.
They're going to end up being caught for cheating. Because there's no reason for UCF. When you've got Florida State, there's no reason for UCF to be important.
Yeah, you're in Orlando.
Right. Oh, well, there you go. Come on down, all the Disney you want.
Exactly.
Saw a deal the other day, and I want you folks to be aware of this, is name, image, license ability. Likeness that football players, or I guess all athletes have now. There's a place in Austin called Pinkerton's, not Austin, Houston, called Pinkerton's Barbecue. A guy named Grant Pinkerton opened a barbecue restaurant, and it's kind of a boutique-ish place, kind of like Franklin's Barbecue in Austin. And this guy just became the official barbecue of Bijan Robinson, who is a running back at the University of Texas, which means that in some form or fashion, Mr. Robinson is receiving some remuneration from Pinkerton's Barbecue. Now,
could just be all the barbecue.
Could be all the barbecue him and his buddies want when he comes to town. It could be $1,000 a month. It could be whatever. And the kid is reaping the benefits of his name, image, and likeness.
And good for him. But here's the question I have. Does that really help Pinkerton sell any more barbecue? Or is this just a way for
mentioned on this show, which by the way it wouldn't have done,
But is that just a way for Division I athletes or Division I schools to sweeten the pot,
funnel cash to these kids,
without it being illegal anymore?
It makes you wonder if, from a marketing standpoint, if you knew that a dime out of your meal went to help this kid in college, this poor kid barely getting by in college. If that was the case, and you're a UT alum, it might endear you to Pinkerton's Barbecue. Hey, let's go eat at Grant's place because, maybe Bijan will be there. That kind of deal. But
until Bijan does something that ticks off all the fans.
Right. When Bijan gains 47 pounds and can't run the 40 anymore, then all of a sudden you're like, all that brisket caught up with his aorta. Yeah, you got to wonder. But it makes me wonder, is there a place at the Wade and Carter Show for us to be the official radio program of some kid? I don't know. I don't know. I'm just going right down the list of transparent, just being honest. If Jordan Whittington, for example, a kid that I've got some access to through some friends in Cuero, if we said we want to give you here's $100, we just want to be able to say that we're the official radio program of Jordan Whittington.
His age ain't going for that.
Right. So there you go. and then the thing is that a conflict with you? You're a U of H guy. Do we need to find a soccer player? Is that a conflict since you're the AD? See, the whole process is full of lots of conflicts and questions and what happens if, and, can you imagine the official law firm of Sergio Kendall? Remember when he was always in some type of trouble? Maybe you need a law firm if you're an athlete. The law offices of Steve Kidder, official law firm. University of Texas Athletics.
I'm sure they've got one
Oh, I bet they do. It
for the
used to
athletic
be-
department, just not the kids.
Yeah.
But
No
I
kidding.
don't know. I mean,
Watch what I do. Allen's Wrecker Service, 578-6300, the official towing company of the Wade and Carter program. Allen's is the only towing company that we trust our vehicles with. You should be wise and follow suit. 578-6300. That's Allen's Wrecker Service. The VCS companies, including Rocket Oilfield Service, including the only locally owned and authorized AT&T retailer, the
Where-
official banner sponsor of the Wade and Carter program.
if you're a first responder, you can go get FirstNet at the only locally owned and authorized AT&T retailer.
They're right there on Kerr Boulevard, inside the loop off of Main Street, and they are the official banner sponsor of the Wade and Carter program.
I saw
Cheswick
some
Furniture.
Just quickly to go back, I saw some law enforcement folks on Facebook having a conversation about providers, and many of them recommended FirstNet. So
And you
There you
don't
go.
have to make any, just interrupt and go. It's your show. I mean, it's Wade and Spaceholder.
fair enough.
I mean, because I know that at the moment, I think you might get up and say a kind word at my wake, but I think you'd probably have Caleb in here by the time I was cold.
Well, it's always an understudy on Broadway.
I understand. The show must go on.
The ship must sail
The
in the
ship
morning.
must sail. I had someone ask just the other day, what's the proximity of the Guadalupe River to Club Westerner? Because I may cut a canal and bring my yacht right into the parking lot.
It's right there.
Right. I think that's what's going to happen. October 8th, folks. October 8th, Friday night.
Club Westerner.
The band Rewind. Come
Rock
get
the yacht.
ship
Party.
faced with Wade and Carter.
Gonna be a good time.
You're going to have a great time. Bring your own bottle. Setup's available. You can buy beer there. It's going to be great. $10 a head. You can't do, there's nothing you can do that night in Victoria for $10 that'll be more fun
Nothing.
than we're going to have as we rock the yacht at Club Westerner. Please
Yeah.
plan to attend.
Can't even attend Free Boot Fest this year. So
I-
this is our alternative.
I reached out yesterday and made a request. I won't tell you who on the air, but I made a request to procure several food trucks to have in the parking lot at Club Westerner. Didn't even ask Club Westerner. I'm just thinking, it's probably easier to get forgiveness than permission.
Yeah, I don't know if they can eat it, but whatever.
There you go. We'll see what happens.
Chesnick Furniture Company,
101 years in downtown Victoria.
116 West Juan Lynn,
Corner of,
Juan Lynn and Bridge.
there you go. You said that like, am I passing this test?
I had to think about it. I always do now.
I've
You
only been
put that-
doing it. They've been here about 4 years now, but I'm glad you're catching on. Folks, Chesnick Furniture, their motto is so pure. You just do better at Chesnick. They mean it. They want to help you. They want your family to be comfortable and happy.
They've got no down, no interest programs going on right now. So,
I mean, they basically have no payments.
Yeah.
It's just free furniture. Go get it. They'll deliver it today. There might be a slight delivery charge.
and it's awesome stuff.
Half off.
They've
Go
got great
see-
furniture. They really do.
They really have beautiful furniture. And
Accoutrement.
yes, I even say that. Accoutrement. I don't know why you can't say Gutierrez. It's just not that
Gutierrez.
hard.
It's just
Right.
it's right there.
Gutierrez, party of two. Folks, Veracruz, today is your last
Just
day.
Roy G, party of two.
Roy Good, party of two. Get into Veracruz today. Today's your last day of the week to get in there. And you'll be glad you did. Everything is so fresh, so good. The service is so wonderful. By the way, if you're looking for a job and you want to be involved in food service, the folks at Veracruz would talk to you. They are hiring.
There you go.
And I think it's a great time for you to get in there and talk to Lee and Ida. They're very, very fair. And the food is so good. You can't go wrong being associated with Veracruz.
Go apply for the job wearing your Cowboys gear. Gives you a leg up.
Oh yeah, you're in. Don't wear and don't wear your Texans gear. They profile.
No. Rena Scherer, good morning. Marvin Mickers is in. Bobby Leister checking in. Karen Webb, Andy Rhea Jr., Tracy Price, J. Mark Jameson, producer extraordinaire. Judge
Tracy.
Posey, good morning. Clint
Hi,
Ives.
Judge. Hi, Clint.
Lorena Bargenbrook is in. Stephen Kidder checking in. Jackie Parsons, good morning.
Hello,
In
Lorena.
Abilene this morning.
What a smart group of listeners we have.
Kendra Douglas, Scott Snow, Lisa Poole, Carrie Bump, Christina Wise, Patrick Strauss, Janelle Sarles, Ricky King, Jim Simpson, Sheriff Louderback. There's Roy Gutierrez, Tom Price.
That's Jimmy Three Cheese back there. Hello, Sheriff Louderback.
Joel Gomez, Natalie Mayer, good morning. Jeff Finley.
Alex Alvarez, good morning, buddy.
Good morning to you.
Glad
Diane
you're well.
Tippett's in.
What you just
Amanda
had
Smith
there
King,
was a
Adam Sugar.
large group
This is College
of
Sports Today.
first responders, law enforcement officers, elected officials, business honchos. Think about this. If you folks start your day with Wade and Carter, it's probably the dumbest thing you do all day. Y'all are smart people, educated people, leaders in the community. The dumbest thing you do is listen to us. That's pretty good. We've got the most educated, top-notch listener base of anybody in the country.
Steve Kidder, Peter McNally, Adam Sugar, Jeremy Pena,
And
Dwayne
Pete.
Payne,
And we
good
got
morning. Diane Hawes.
He keeps tuning in from Beaumont. He ain't learned a thing yet. We love Peter McNally. Fine gentleman. He's our guy. He's the guy that's over in the corner. It's like, ask Pete. He's sitting right over there. That's the guy we do. He's a good one.
Adam Sugar says, why do high schools get a profit off my name, image, and likeness? That's what's next.
Right.
Although they really don't.
I'm in junior high. I'm out here representing Hal. Why can't I make $50 off Uncle Mutt's? Yeah, that's what's going to happen.
Christina Wise, will this change anything when it comes to Vegas and placing bets as student athletes start getting paid? I don't believe they can gamble. And I don't believe they can align themselves with gambling sites or some of these daily gambling sites like DraftKings and those. So no.
Does the potential exist for a big money donor to lean on them to throw a game? Does that?
I think it helps the transparency because I'm sure some of these folks that have ponied up money to some of these players might have been ponying up money to some of these kids under the tables and circumventing the rules. Yes.
You know, that's what I do at UHV games. Go up to some of the athletes, slip them a couple of bucks. Shh, tell me about it.
Really? Because I've never seen your UHV
game.
Yeah.
It's radio action. Telling a story.
Theater of the mind. Yeah, I know.
Telling a story.
BJ Nelson, good morning.
What did she say? She wrote a paragraph.
So many places are hurting. Why don't you let businesses that advertise that you call in to say what openings they have?
Well, call us, BJ, 575-9509. White Trash Services. The number there is 550-1826. And I think that's a great idea. You know, BJ is BJ is absolutely one of our best sponsors and listeners, period. Sponsors, especially, but listeners for sure. And I do think that some of our people, we have sponsors that don't listen to the show live. Right. That's one thing. They listen later in the day. But I wish that
they're not up this early.
I wish they would call. There's people that are up, wishing they had a different job, wishing they had a job. We can help facilitate that.
Steve Kidder says, I just want to make sure you got the ad right.
Well, as Steve Kidder says, some folks make mistakes. And when you make a mistake, you need representation to minimize the effect it has on the rest of your life.
There you go.
You need good representation. You need somebody to keep you out of a courtroom. You need somebody to keep you out of trouble. Minimize the pain that you've put yourself in. Some of these things spiral downwards. Don't represent yourself. Reach out to our buddy, Steve Kidder, the law offices of Steve Kidder.
121 Main.
And Steve will do the best he can for you. Good morning, caller. Who have we got? Oh, it's so hard to twist your arm, BJ Nelson. How are you, ma'am? Tell us what's going on. Are y'all hiring at White Trash Services and White Trash Site Services? And White Trash is out on the loop. If you go around to the west,
Across from Aloe Field.
they're right next door to Logger Construction out there at Aloe Field. Yeah, right now is a great time. You just heard it straight from the owner. If you can handle an excavator, excavator, an excavator, get out there and get a job today. Go talk to the folks at White Trash Site Services.
Give him about 15 more years, and my grandson will probably be out there applying for that job because he is just absolutely enamored and fixated with excavators.
Absolutely. Why did John Davis say me and BJ are chump change? What does that mean?
I don't know, because maybe I hadn't finished the list of who's all in yet this morning, and that's
okay. John Davis is in, and he's never chump change.
So if you're an excavator, if you're an excavator operator, and you have a job, maybe you're looking for a new challenge, or you're out of work and looking to get back into the workforce, give BJ a call at
550-1826.
Awesome.
Thank you,
BJ.
man. Oh.
Awesome. Thank you, BJ. Appreciate it. Nothing will get you in better shape than
laying sod. Yeah. You're bent over, you stand up.
You work those hammies, you work the lower back. Yeah.
Yep.
Good. And you're outside. Fresh air.
I once laid like 5-6 squares before my back played out. Back in the day.
Peter McNally's in this morning. There's John Davis, Arthur O'Brien. Good morning, Mike Bloschke.
OB, good morning, buddy. I'll see you in a couple of weeks. Twice.
Mike Spell, good morning. I got to wish my mom. We don't do Kevin Myers. Kevin announced he's getting married. Congrats to Kevin.
Kevin, congratulations. You would never. Is today your mother's birthday?
It is.
We would
never.
We wouldn't even mention it on the show that it's Tina Wallachell's birthday, much less glorifying the fact that she's your mother. Happy birthday, Ms. Wallachell.
Happy birthday, Mom.
We
love you. Love you. Miss you.
Yes, ma'am.
It's also my younger brother's anniversary, but we won't mention that.
Go outside there in sunny Calgary, Alberta, Canada.
It will be. It's going to be a nice weekend.
I
talked to my brother last night. Yep. The big Labor Day Classic Monday, Calgary, Edmonton football.
What are you doing, Kelly? You walk down to the corner pub and have about 15 pints? If you're Tina, is that what you do? You're Canadian.
I wasn't quite. It wasn't on our corner, but it was on a corner.
Does she just maybe buy a? What do you do if you're Canadian like that? You just go down and just swill some cold beer and come home and eat some treat?
No, they would go down to the Royal Canadian Legion and celebrate. That's what they would do. Have a burger, fries,
spam,
maybe a steak sandwich. Tell you what, you don't get a better steak sandwich than you get in Canada.
Right.
Open faced on garlic toast, not a crappy piece of meat.
No click or treat.
No click
fried,
or treat.
Fried spam.
You know, Cheryl and I looked at the label of spam the other day. Not that bad for you, really.
You don't think?
A little bit of sodium, but
just
as far as carbs and fat, it wasn't bad.
Eating spam, folks, is like eating a meat Dorito. I mean, you put it in your mouth and it just tastes like salt. Donnie did a beautiful thing last night. So Caden had requested kind of some Chinese food.
Patrick Strauss asked if they need an accountant,
and she did. They always do.
There's your mom.
Hello, Mom. She did a like a lo mein noodle, and put in some peas and carrots, and then I bought some shrimp, and I bought a piece of salmon that I broiled, and she did
lo
some
mein
chicken.
noodles. So basically, she made ramen and dumped the sauce out.
Sort of. and Caden. So Dawn was all excited because it was healthy and it was fresh and it was really good, and. She said, well, Kate, is that what you had in mind? He goes, yeah, sort of. What he really wanted was like Dragon Palace. That's what he wanted, but he didn't.
Well, I talked to him. I know that's what my mom's getting. Well, she's not getting Dragon Palace, but they're going to have Chinese food on the weekend to celebrate my mom's birthday.
There you go. What does
Steve Kinner wants to know if he can put his dating profile here.
Yeah, you could. It could be matchless.com. That's what we could call ourselves.
Under Sugar says Brent in college laying squares has never touched a pallet of grass.
Absolutely. You know that. You know that's just back-breaking work.
James Kerr says if you're an excavator, you can be re-excavated with trash site services.
Well, I you know those old post hole diggers that have the two handles and you do that deal.
Yeah, that's what you
I looked at
operated.
my dad once and said, "What are you going to do with that?" I mean, he had one arm.
He handed it
Like,
to you.
Don't hand it to me, Hoss. I'm not digging in that ground.
There you go.
Let's take one more quick, easy break.
I believe I saw the congressman
congressman
walk in.
here. You didn't see the entourage walk by and just a glimpse of his robe. We couldn't look full face.
I think I saw the flowing white wig.
Yes, we just wanted to have a glimpse of the congressman. Folks, since 1926, Atzenhofer has simply been Victoria's dealership. Whether you now need Cadillac, Mazda, Mitsubishi, or Chevrolet, service on all makes and models, paint on anything that sits still, the Atzenhofer dealership can inspect your vehicle, buy your vehicle, sell your vehicle,
service your vehicle.
They'll do it all. Reach out today. Go to Atzenhofer.com.
My used vehicle of the week. They've got a truck there. That's actually a pretty good deal if you're looking for a 3/4 ton work type truck. That's a little bit that you could dress up and take out on the weekends around the town.
Right. I like that. How much was it?
Under 40.
Oh, that's good. Yeah. Trucks are super
and fairly low miles too.
Razor IT Solutions, JP Hull and his team. I'm going to get with JP. We're going to figure out how to get these tickets bought online at WadeandCarter.com or probably on our Facebook page would be ideal. Where you can go to the event and then purchase a ticket.
Let's send them to our Facebook, to our website that we don't even use.
We don't even use it, but it's we need to clean it up.
We do.
There is a WadeandCarter.com, and we probably ought to start selling some swag there. We just haven't done it.
That'd be a good job for an intern.
Yeah, we need an intern. I'd rather give it away than fight the IRS. Razor IT Solutions, though, JP Hull and his team can help you like they help Fortune 100 companies, big companies that you definitely know. They just don't talk about.
They let everybody else deal with the Fortune 500.
Right. They're in the top 100. And JP can help you with your analytics, your data, encryption, protecting all of the above, and making sure that nobody hacks into your website. That's what he does. And he had a small business here in town that approached him for some help because they were friends. And when he went and looked at the lady's website, there were 100 active hacks trying to get into her small business website from all over the world. They were just using it as a way to get into her site.
Ricky King says, can't we just go by Veracruz at lunch and meet you there to get the tickets?
You could. I'm there most days, and I think that's a beautiful idea.
You could just sell tickets there at lunch.
We could do
noon to 1.
We could do that. But I don't want to sell tickets. I want to invite friends. I want people to come to this party. It's going to be a good time.
It will.
There you have it. And the complete restaurant. I call it a restaurant. Now it's a supplement store. It's a smoothie house. It's a place to get a custom-made salad bowl, wrap, panini. They've got it all. Right here next to Woodlawn Bowl. Right here is the Health Bar, and it is phenomenal. Now, they still have a location up by Buffalo Wild Wing, but in short order, that location is going to be down here.
All be into one.
Yeah.
One convenient
Makes
location for all your healthy eating alternatives and supplements.
There you go.
Try the Hammond.
So did you also see Mark Longoria go by?
I think I did. He was holding. He was making sure that the robe was not touching
the ground. Yeah. We need to get him in here as well.
So, can you hold court for a minute?
I can do it.
I will go grab the Congress. I won't grab them because then the Secret Service will kill me. But I will bring.
So I'm going to give you folks my mindless trivia of the week. This is mindless trivia of the week. You know the idea of a lightning rod. Wade and Carter tends to be a lightning rod for criticism. But let me share this with you. I did not know this. I was this many years old before I figured out that when Ben Franklin flew his kite and had the key on the string, it wasn't to entice lightning to strike the kite. He reached up and put his finger in proximity to the key, and a spark jumped across. which let Ben Franklin, who is smarter than most of you and me, let him realize that static electricity was in the air. So when he took a piece of iron and put it on a spire on the top of a building and then ran a wire down to the ground, it was not so lightning would strike the lightning rod. It was so that the static electricity in the air could be dissipated through the iron rod and go into the ground without ever creating lightning. Thus, Ben Franklin created the lightning rod, which you never see lightning strike a lightning rod because it's already taken the static out of the air. With that, a modern day patriot, a modern day extension of the greatness of Ben Franklin, has joined us in studio. We have a box of tissues there in case we bring you to tears. Congressman and friend, now in that order. Used to just be friend, right? Now it's Congressman and friend Michael Cloud.
Congressman.
No, Congressman Trump's friend. Congressman and friend Michael Cloud joins us in studio. We're always proud to see you, sir. How
We
are
were
you?
able to get the headphones working, so maybe this is the time we finally bust out the congressman's fanfare.
It's part of the contract.
It is. So let me make sure that this is
This
where we
is,
need it to be. No, there we go.
this is
That's
Ash trying to
good.
do things.
I know. Bear with me.
Wow, that's amazing.
Live from His Majesty's court, sans white wig, it's Congressman Michael Cloud. Sir, how are you and what's going on in the crazy, crazy, mad world of Washington, D.C.?
Well, I heard you were looking for an intern. So.
Well, we'd love to have you.
He offered up Mark.
Yes, y'all can have Mark. There you go. Mark Longoria here with him. Great. Now, Mark is still a great friend and friend of the congressman. So we're glad you're here too, sir.
Well, it's certainly been a couple tough weeks, obviously, with the news that's been coming out of Afghanistan. Our office has been working on that intimately. We've had a number of people reach out to our office, of course, most notably veterans who are working to get their interpreters out, or people with SID. We had some American citizens that had their fiance who was stuck, for example. The stories you would get would be devastating. And of course, we can talk about the.
Do you have a better idea of the numbers that are there? I mean,
it seems really low. What do you think before this started? The Department of State estimates were like 10 to 15,000. They got 5,000 out, and then they say there's a couple hundred left. I know of one group that has 80 in it personally.
the math doesn't quite work out though. If you take 5,000 from 15, that still leaves you 10, doesn't it?
Well, right.
Not a couple hundred.
But they all wanted to stay, according to the Biden administration.
Well, one of the stories that hasn't really gotten told in the context of all this too is the missionaries that's stuck there. It's been one of the top, fastest growing areas in the world for Christianity to be spreading, and of course the Taliban
hate Christianity.
and so the stories you're hearing from boots on the ground is people don't have the Bible app on your phone, those kind of things.
They'll drag you through the streets.
And so it's especially heartbreaking because you think like this is a time where, of course, we put aside partisan things. Let's work on getting Americans out. And so our office is collecting this information, working with the State Department, all the names, emails, everything, and then to find out that the State Department was handing this information over to the Taliban, it's just such a betrayal. And for our office, I mean, it's really personal.
So you've been able to verify that because the mainstream media is acting like that's a conspiracy.
Everything we're seeing and hearing, it seems pretty accurate to us. We know that they have the biometric readers, they have the data, they have the ability now to, when you have to call that Navy SEAL back and tell them, I'm sorry, we weren't able to get the interpreter out, or a family member, we weren't able to get that family member out. The best case scenario that we're hearing is to run for the border. But make sure you turn your phone off because they now have the technology that we left to be able to track your phone.
Oh wow!
Sounds like my wife.
It's so infuriating. I mean, here's a text message we got. We've been trying to get an American citizen 5-month-old baby inside for 72 hours. This is just right outside the Kabul airport a couple days before the deadline. standing next to a Marine 10 yards away. Everyone at the top knows, White House, DOD, state, everyone inside the gates knows, from the Marine watching him to the commander, he's still outside. A lot of people making noises and waving arms, especially the U.S. political class, but the heroes I'm seeing are the ones operating behind the scenes, leveraging every unconventional avenue they can to do what's morally right.
So you look at this situation and you realize that, and I like what you said, you put aside partisan politics. These are all Americans over there. We don't know how they vote. We don't even care how they vote. We want to get them home safely. But just for a second, let's just flip the scenario. And Ash and I have surmised that if this same situation were going down under Donald Trump, we believe he would not have had the suicide bombers and the idiocy, because they were a little more intimidated by President Trump. But even if they had, let's just say it had gone exactly like it's gone, what would the left be doing right now, and the media right now, about President Trump if all of this exact same scenario had played out on his watch, as opposed to the fact that just now the mainstream media is kind of starting to hold Biden a little bit accountable for his debacle, is kind of the word that they're using now. How is it that the left simply doesn't hold its own accountable at all?
Well, this is why they've lost the trust of the American people. I think you've seen some surveys come out that will say that the trust in our media is at an all-time low. And it's a sentiment that's been hard-earned, you hate to say, but it really has. And you've seen the willingness to be able to, I mean, even in the kinds of questions this administration gets versus previous administrations, the approach that it stands for, it's really devastating. I mean, the good news is the American people are seeing through this at this point, and they realize that there's definitely an agenda. Videos have come out with the CEO of CNN, for example, just talking about the personal agenda that they would have from day to day. And we're going to talk about this, we're going to talk about that, and those kind of things. Obviously, CNN didn't cover that.
Yeah, no.
But this is, the American people are, I think, becoming very aware that they've been being played by some of these.
Ricky King, who served over there, said, I'll summarize a little bit. Basically, he said, if we would have misplaced something, we would have been held accountable for it. And the government just leaves behind $85 billion worth of military gear that is now being used by our sworn enemies against us. How is this possible? And is anybody going to be held accountable for this? I mean, I can't imagine this is the way we do things now. We take a bunch of gear in and we leave it behind when we leave.
Right.
Certainly not good for the environment.
There's reports already that many of those helicopters, for example, are making their way to Iran and Humvees and what kind of thing. It's crazy that we left this administration seems really focused on legitimizing the Taliban as a legitimate government, as opposed to helping people. The State Department was funneling people through the Taliban checkpoints to get to the airport, as opposed to others who could find their way there. They seemed more concerned about paperwork and processes than people. That's really what it came down to. And you talk to people on the ground and you hear quotes like, the State Department is the biggest obstacle in getting people out right now. And so they talked about the August 31st deadline. I can say we were still trying to get people to the airport in Kabul. The flight stopped approximately 2 days before that, as far as getting people out, getting evacuated from the military.
I saw a report earlier this week. The last 5 flights that left Kabul airport, no Americans were on it.
I would not be surprised. There's like 100,000, 120, something like that, and 5,000 for American citizens. In the meantime, just 3 days ago, I was talking with people on the ground. We had three planes. They were loaded with people already, 86 American citizens on them. A number of them, I had the information, passport information, some of that. So we were trying to work the channels to get the State Department to clear. All they needed was permission to clear. because some of these NGOs would get permission from other countries, and then the State Department would call and be like, "Hey, we can't. You need to make sure you get our permission before you let any of these planes land." And so, 3 planes, American citizens on them, also persecuted Christians, women, and children. 3 planes. We were getting the tail numbers, trying to get the information to the State Department. The word comes back that, hey, they're going to be able to take off in the morning for full time. Morning comes, they didn't get the clearance, or the clearance was revoked. And then just a couple hours later, I started getting the messages: the Taliban's here, they control the planes, they control the people now. And so the State Department will say, well, we're still working with them. And they'll say this is a shift from a military operation to a diplomatic operation. Well, it's important to realize what that means is we're giving them stuff. We're paying now to get the American citizens out. We are funding the Taliban in order to get our people back. And so that's couched in nice terms, but it's very valuable.
But it was even more blatant than that, because I read a report where a Biden administration official said, yeah, we're probably going to work with the Taliban and provide them foreign aid. I mean, come on, really?
It's really disappointing that there is an attempt, and there has been for a couple of decades now. The world kind of cycles throughout history. It goes from a multipolar to a bipolar to a unipolar world. And then you have superpower. Average age of the superpower is 248 years. We're at 245. Usually they crumble from within, bad decisions made, those kind of things. It's not that they're overcome. They usually crumble from within. And so for the last couple of decades, you've had a concerted effort. And if you study, you can just Google, maybe not Google,
They might block you.
Multipolar. But Iran, this is very intentional about an effort from Iran, from Russia, from China to create a new world order. We've been pretty much supreme since World War II. We came in, we conquered and saved the world from tyranny, those kind of things. And so there's been a concerted attempt to turn us back into a multipolar world. Biden in 2009 was in the Ukraine as vice president said of the Obama-Biden administration. We're trying to create a multipolar world. And so when you begin to look at this from the geopolitical sense and historical sense of, we actually have people now in the federal government who are trying to bring down American supremacy and influence in the world.
Right.
And so then some of these things, these tactical strategic decisions in the light of that take on a whole new understanding.
Right. Is the Biden administration impeachable? And as a historian that I know you to be, is that a nuclear option that we're just throwing around too casually now?
Yeah, I'm careful to throw around just because of that. It becomes, of course, in comparison, you go, well, we impeached the last president over a phone call. This certainly is worse, in
right.
that sense, and so I get the American people thinking that. I think if we're going to go down that road, we need to take the time to build the case, the legal case, to make sure it's airtight, to do the research. Don't do a Pelosi and just a week from now drop impeachment articles, and it should mean something. So it should be taking time. I will say I've called for the resignations of the Big Four. We need to see accountability here. We'll continue to push for it. I'm on the oversight committee. We asked for hearings. We had a hearing with Cigar last week, which is the Special Inspector General for Afghanistan. He's usually been pretty nonpartisan about the issues in Afghanistan. So it'll be interesting to see how this goes forward. Oversight Committee has scheduled a classified hearing, which sounds really special, but oftentimes that just means
C-SPAN can't be there.
Exactly. They don't want you to know what's going on, much like the impeachment. So I in our Oversight Committee hearing this week said, I appreciate we're going to have a briefing on it. I think we need to have one where the American people can also hear what's going on. So
I appreciate that.
Isn't it crazy that that I don't want to impeach Biden because I wouldn't want Kamala to be president, and I wouldn't want to throw them both out because I wouldn't want to deal with Nancy Pelosi, who I guess is third. She's third. It's lunacy. They're all just tragic human beings, and it's just so sad for America that which keeps bringing me back to, I just don't believe 81 million people voted for this regime of lunacy. I just don't believe it.
I think if a vote were held today to vacate the chair, there's a good chance that we would win that.
Can you have a presidential recall?
Well, I'm talking about the Speaker of the House.
Oh, okay. I was going to the top. I was going to the top, baby. Get him out of here.
You have a motion to vacate, which, if you recall, that's kind of what happened before I got there with the whole Boehner situation. They changed the rules now to where only the leader of the minority leader can call for it. So it used to be any member can file that, and right now that's not the case. So if that were to happen,
So where's Mike McCarthy on this? Nowhere yet?
Is that the Cowboys coach?
Or Kevin McCarthy? Yeah,
Okay.
sorry, I got my McCarthy mixed up.
Who cares? We want to know what Jerry Jones thinks about this. Right. Right, exactly. Nothing like a really informed host on the show to have you on.
It's easy now.
Throwing old Michael a curveball there.
Cowboydian slip, and he went right through it. We're good.
He handled that deftly. Very well handled.
Yeah, I think he's weighing it. Hopefully, we try to help make the case for it. So we'll see where we go next time we are up there and convene. So we're still working to make the case for that.
Do you still have some Democrat acquaintances up there, friends that just look at you and shake their head like, I just can't believe what's going on in this country?
There's definitely some that are in their own words, like they're really disappointed in the crazy left, and I know there's people in our community like that, and in the right and left spectrum, there's broad spectrums within it, the whole spectrum, right?
Yeah.
And so, but if you think back to a generation or two ago, where the difference between the general right and the general left was more of what's the role of government in getting to that shared value, that place that we agreed on. We wanted the same thing for our nation, for our communities. We believed in America, those kind of things. One of the same thing for our families. And so the question was more, what's the role of government in getting there, right?
Right.
And what should the federal government do versus the state government? And right now, that's just not what we're saying in Washington. It's diabolically different views about what it means to be America.
Let me offer up one opportunity here. If you have a question or comment for Congressman Michael Cloud, if you'd like to call us at 361-575-9509, if you have a comment on your observations of the job Michael's doing, or if you have a question to somewhat express your outrage at what's going on in our country, he's available, unscripted, and we'll certainly take your call. He does it every day. You're not gonna upset him. Feel free to call. He meets with folks every day, either at his office or on the street or in the communities, and he's here. So we'll take a call, 575-9509, if you have one. How's your family? How's everybody holding up?
Oh, family's doing good. Of course, kids are back in school, as we all know. And, when I started off on this, I was saying I have 3 little kids, and I had to realize that they're not little.
They're not little anymore.
They probably don't appreciate me saying that. So
They now do door hangings. They go hang things on doors now.
they were doing that when they were 5 and 6 years old. So.
Yeah, nothing's changed.
Dad, I got Tanglewood.
If I'm not back in 3 hours, come look for me.
Right, Kevin Myers. Read that, Ash.
I want to thank Congressman Cloud for his steadfast representation of our district and values.
Yeah,
So
there you go.
Thanks, Kevin. Appreciate that. The other big item that has sort of been lost amongst the Afghanistan hullabaloo, and that's putting it mildly, but this $3.5 trillion basically blueprint for future budgets.
What's sad is what gets lost in the shuffle of these big news items. And yes, we had a $3.5 trillion bill that got passed last week. We were up there. When we say that, it makes it sound like we had a bill come to the floor for $3.5 trillion that we voted on and it passed. That's not exactly what happened. And consider $3.5 trillion. To my knowledge, that is probably the largest spending bill ever to come through Congress. We didn't vote on it. We voted on. It got tucked in the way to a procedural motion on another bill. And so they just added
Right.
the $3.5 trillion bill into a line. They deemed it as if we had voted on it within the rule of another bill. And that sounds wonky, but the point is that we didn't vote on it. And all it does is it's basically these bucket shells. We don't even really know what's in it.
That sounds familiar from the
Yeah.
Democrats,
It's
doesn't
not
it?
even we have to pass it to read it. There's not much there. It's the framework for, so it gives committees top line figures that then the work goes to the committees, and then we supposedly have this rigorous debate over what should be in that top line bucket, and so then it gets filled up. I can tell you how that process went last time we did it. January, February. Basically, I was in the Ag Committee, which is typically one of the bipartisan committees. There's usually a lot of bipartisan participation on it, but we, over the course of a 10 or 12-hour committee hearing, presented 30 or 40 amendments. One got through, so we won one of those votes, and some of them were like including, if we're going to spend over $1 trillion, let's fix rural broadband. If we're going to spend that much money, let's actually fix something, and stuff like that got voted down.
$1 trillion.
So after the committee hearing where we passed our one of 30 to 40 amendments, it goes to the Rules Committee on the way to the floor. The Rules Committee looked at it and said, we're just going to pop that amendment out and send it to the floor without it. So they go through the motions of a committee hearing, but it's not really that. It's continuing this really authoritarian reign we have right now, to where those are coming straight to the floor. It's take it. There's no debate. There's no amendments.
So this bill that it was tucked into, you voted against it, I'm assuming?
Well, I voted against the procedural motion, and I voted against the bill. The bill was tucked into was another one of the let's give the federal government all the authority over elections and the bill. So I voted against that one as well. Yes.
Shift gears and tell us any latest developments, any progress made at our southern border.
Well, I wish I could say there's progress being made, but again, this has been one of those things to where it's almost been by design. We talked about what was it, extraordinary success in Afghanistan. They were following tremendous progress at the border, and it's been interesting because we'll sit in on these briefings about Afghanistan, and so all the secretaries are there, and they're talking about Secretary Mayorkas is talking about how proud he is about the extreme vetting process they have in getting Afghans into the U.S. And like, okay, we're talking about 100,000 people total. Meanwhile, there's 100,000 people a month
Getting caught.
at
Yeah.
the southern border that we know about, who are just being released into the public. From 160 different countries. There's new diseases being introduced in the communities that we thought we could cure in the United States. There's a whole lot of stuff going on. And just to give you, there's so much human tragedy involved, but just to give you an example of the approach that the administration has, is when we talk to the boots on the ground, you have these stats. So you have the apprehended, right? And those are people, usually they're tracking us down versus us tracking them down. Then you have the detected but gotaways, people we knew were there but weren't able to
Catch them.
for whatever reason. Then you have the unknowns, of course. Well, the detected but gotaways number was getting too high, and so the solution was to move the cameras.
That's unbelievable.
Yeah, so you have the boots on the ground telling us these things.
So manipulate the data to
Right,
fit your
they're all
goals.
coming right through this ravine right here, and we're not catching them. So let's move the cameras over here where they're not coming, and that way we're not detecting any. Our friend, your friend, AJ Lauterbach, has told us that the Mayorkas you see now is not the Mr. Mayorkas that he knew years ago under Obama and other folks. That guy knew the problem at the border, understood the solution at the border, and now this Mayorkas 2.0 is complicit in a complete and total just debacle and tragedy at the border.
Yeah, and when you get into these issues, you realize it's like there's no way you can be intentionally this incompetent. Eventually, you accidentally make a right decision.
Wow.
So it's very difficult to give a whole lot of grace when it comes to those kind of things. I happen to see these as I always come in. I've talked about them before, but I thought I'd bring them just so you all can see. These are the bracelets that the cartel members have. And so last time I was down there, I was by the wall.
Show them there. Yeah.
You pay us, you got us. Each of these have like a little digital number on them. So right there, that the cartels use to keep track of them as
It's unbelievable.
and I picked these up out of the dirt, like right where the wall ended. Of course, there's a path going around it, and just pulled these out of the dirt.
So once they got onto American soil, they just take that off, so they're not identified immediately as being part of the cartel trafficking.
Right, and
Just unbelievable.
it is unbelievable.
I think that's so telling, and I want to make sure people understood what the congressman was saying. They had a spot where they had cameras set up to watch people come in, and they were picking these people up. They could see them coming in, and the administration said way too many people are getting caught on camera that aren't getting apprehended. So move the camera. We don't want to see it. I think that's tragic.
I mean, of course, you want to hand it through official channels. This is the stories we get when we're calling people off the fly who work in those capacities.
Sure.
Yeah.
So you won't find the report on that, and that's what gets challenging in a lot of these areas.
BJ Nelson has a question. She asked about the amendment tucked away that allows the federal government to monitor your bank accounts. Is this?
Yes. And that's what's dangerous about some of these bills coming. For example, they'll call it an infrastructure package, but buried within that is the laying the framework for them to be able to track and tax every mile you make. Now, they say overtaxing the mileage because that's what we need to pay for highways, but it's really, they're tracking everywhere you go, for example. And then likewise in the banking provision.
It's like China's social credit, right?
Yeah.
Everybody in China has an app on their phone, and basically it allows you to go where they say you can go, not where you want to go.
That's not going to work in America.
And then on the banking side of things, there's provisions. Right now, there's, I think it's a $10,000 benchmark, right? And it's been like that, I think, for 30, 40 years. It's where if you have a transaction that's over $10,000, it gets reported on. And that hasn't changed in 30, 40 years. Might be worth moving that up. Or
Just given inflation, yeah.
Yeah. But instead, what they're doing is they're saying if you have over $600 in your account, we want to be able to track every one of your transactions.
Wow.
And of course, all this is always going to be done in the name of safety and security.
Sure.
To track down that, whatever.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
But the key thing is remembering that the key role of the federal government, and this is where a lot of people even in Washington get it mixed up. Keeping us safe is certainly part of it because we can't be free if we don't have some sort of relative safety. In the sense of our nation being under threat of your community. But the primary role of the federal government is to keep us free. And so we have to remember that when we're in Washington.
So we have to infringe upon your rights in order to keep you free. Like it goes back to W. W said, well, it makes sense to monitor the cell phone calls because we're going to monitor the phone calls of the tourists. And the next thing you know, he's monitoring everybody's phone calls, and the government overstepped their bounds there. Anytime that there's any semblance of fear, never let a good tragedy go to waste. You've got to find a way to take back some civil liberties. And we appreciate you fighting for ours. I know that's what you're trying to do. So I think it's very impressive when you all are all in that hall and you're sitting there with an M16 on your lap. It makes me feel very comfortable that you never know when you may have to just roll call, it'd be awesome. No, we appreciate all you do and your accessibility. We're bleeding over into, we're kind of doing a Democrat move. We're
taking somebody else's time for our benefit.
But if you have a minute, you want to say something you have a very large listenership right here. We'd love for you to say whatever you want to say
just as always, so grateful for the opportunity to serve this community. This community's been just great to our family. I can't tell you how many times we get a text or a call or see people, hey, we're praying for your family. These are interesting times to serve in, so thank you. And then just to know, we have a team who's here to serve, and that's our heart. And so always feel free to reach out to us. You give it to cloud.house.gov. You check it out, cloud.house.gov. And you can find the phone numbers and do whatever. This is your government. We're here to help you work through whatever you're dealing with. So
next time you're on, we'll get you to give out Mark Longoria's cell number so we can just call him at night.
Anytime, especially like
He loves those late phone calls. Yeah. How's your family, Mark? Everybody good? Good. Well, folks, we're going to get out of here. We want you, first of all,